Good morning, YouTube and Skrilla King community. This is Matt, and today we're going to be going over a lot of the altcoins that are going to be doing presentations at the Consensus Conference, going through their technical analysis and seeing where we can make some profit. But first, we're going to look at Bitcoin here this morning, because if I switch this down to a 15-minute channel here, right here it was 9 minutes, the price of Bitcoin shot up over $350. And that's a huge gain in 9 minutes. And a turnaround at this point was perfectly necessary for maintaining this idea that this was an A wave, a B, and a C wave. Because if this had broken below 8,200, I would have been looking to take another short position, probably at about 81.87. If we had reached that level, I would have shorted it down for a third wave. At least $200, maybe $300 I would expect to lose. But because we came down and we touched this point, which was $5 above the low on this point, the way I'm now going to count this is that this here was the retracement for a structure downward here that tried to make a fifth wave down that would have reached further and would have made this an Elliott down to only form one wave, the situation that I talked about briefly on Sunday's video, but it did fall short. And the way I'm going to count this now is that we had a B, and a C from this Elliott downward. We retraced down from there, tried to make that fifth wave, where we fell completely short here. We were trying to break below this low, did not happen. And then we start our Elliott wave upward, where we have our first wave, second, then we have a 1, 2, 3 up to here, down, and then a fifth wave there. And we then retraced down, as I said, to a 1 to 1 extension almost of that first wave. We were $5 higher. So this makes it a valid first wave of a three-wave structure. So now let's draw our extension from the bottom here to the top here, and then down here. And we come to the conclusion that, yeah, we have been hitting the 1-to-1 here, bouncing off of it, but I do believe we're going to break through. We also tested the 0.5 of this whole retracement, bounced off of it once, but I believe if we touch it again, it will go through. The market will recognize that we're going upward. I apologize if you hear the thunder outside. It is raining pretty hard here in Chicago right now. But if this is what is happening, then our next target for this third wave, we can do this as a 1, a 2, a 3. We're still on our third of this middle wave. I would be looking for this one to potentially reach right about here, retrace down to the top of probably about there, and then finally hit the 1618. So the other thing that we were talking about was this channel that had formed at the bottom, this ascending channel. We really did break out of it this morning, guys. We fell through, we hit that double bottom, and we are now, I believe this channel has become irrelevant due to this retracement here. We did fall out of the ascending channel, just not very deep, which is exactly what we were hoping for. I did say the double bottom was a possibility, and that's what happened. So now let's look at some of these smaller coins that are going to be giving presentations at Consensus that we can expect some growth on. This chart here is Icon on the 4-hour chart, and here we have our retracement. This is the way I've been counting it. A, B, C, down to here. And then we got this massive green candles, a set of green candles here, where we gained 119, 120% in a matter of a week here. And I'll admit it right now, the thing that's giving me the most problems with this chart is that if we were to move this over to here, you can see from the dotted line here that we would finish up here. The first wave here was bigger than this next wave upward. And admit, as I just said, this is what's giving me the most problems on this chart. I would have loved to have seen this high go well above that point to validate the fact that this was a 1 wave, this was a 2 wave, But we just can't do that right now, given the situation. So let's move this out of the way. And you can see right here, the reason I want to, we'll just very, very easy to count Elliott wave right there, where the one wave looks like about the same length as the three wave, which is perfect. And this led into what a lot of traders were referring to as a cup and handle, where you could draw a line, a ray, right across the top here. Okay, Bitcoin, thank you. And it dropped down, formed this nice little parabola right here, touched the same point as the original point, dropped down, this is called the handle then, and then broke above it. Now, in this pattern, I bought in at this flat right here, I bought in at this flat right here, and then I also bought some more right up here when we broke above this ray. Once I was convinced right here that we were above it, I thought that we were still going to go upward for, as I said, at least until we broke the one-to-one extension of this line, and that unfortunately didn't happen. So real quick then, let's count the wave that I see in here. This would be a 1, a 2, and a 3 for a first wave down, then a 1, a 2, and a 3 wave here for our second, which formed, again, that double top with this one here, down, and then finally this fifth wave right there. So once we have that high established, we start retracing. This was a full count that is valid here. Not valid, though, to include this as a first wave, and I would call our retracement maybe an A, a B, and a C. You could argue that it was something more like that, or even something like this, but I'm going to stick with counting it like this, where we had a 1, a 2, and a 3 down, and then a 1, 2, and a 3. I think that's the right way to count that ABC. Of course, we could be proven completely wrong where this was a 1, 2, and maybe that's just the first part of a C. However, as I said, consensus news, it's going to move upward here, I believe. And now let's look at what some extensions would do to this. Real quick, let's draw a few resistances that we see right up here. There's going to be a massive amount of resistance, as well as we found the bottom to be right here. Those are great places. The bottom of this channel would probably, or this cup would also probably form a massive resistance now, and probably at the top you can see right here there's been a lot of resistance. The top's here, the bottom there, the tops of these, the top of this wave right here. So right here you can actually see this was the resistance then that it ran into and turned around at for this fifth wave. So are we sure that the market is turning around? Well, let's draw a retracement real quick up to the top, and you can see that if this was an Elliott, the most likely place for it to retrace to is the 0.5, and we well, we hit that perfectly pretty much. It tapped that 0.5 and turned the market right around. So in my mind, this validates the fact that this C wave, this ABC retracement is complete. The big green candles afterward. So let's then take an extension of this line. Let's assume that this first line is our one wave on the next Elliott up, and let's extend it up. So if this were the case, we would expect, well, a 1, a 2, down to here. We just said that that was the low, and now we are looking for possibly a 1618, potentially a 2618 here. All of this is valid. Probably a bounce back down to here, so 1618 and then up to the 2618. So this is the way I'm looking for Icon to play out right now. If this were the case, let's see what type of gain we would get short term. Oh, looking at a 53% gain on Icon. I think that's a pretty reasonable number given the fact that this was an 120% gain. This one was about a 90% gain. I think a 53% gain due to consensus is not out of the question by any stretch of the imagination. Let's also then take a few more extensions here. Let's do the bottom of that one to the top there, drag it on down to there, and you'll see that if this was a one wave, well, the 2618 and the is just above the 1.0 extension here. That makes it a perfect candidate. It lines up kind of with the 1272 right here. I would think that this becomes even more likely. And then let's finally even do, I know that it's kind of invalid, but let's do an extension from here to here because these were very important pivots. And you can see yet again the 1618 of this first wave is perfectly in this box that we just talked about. This is looking like a fantastic area for this wave to finish here on Icon. I would, due to consensus, I would expect the price right in this box before we see another retracement. Alright, so now let's look at Ripple. So here we are at the bottom of Ripple back on April 1st, and we're looking at Ripple to the dollar instead of the Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart, and that's important because if we hop over to CoinMarketCap, you can see that the biggest trading volumes happen to the Japanese yen, the Korean won, and the USDT, another Korean won, and finally it's all the way down at number 6, Binance BTC to XRP. So let's go back over here. So to the dollar, as I said, a little bit more important. Now this retracement here bottomed out at 44 cents, and Ripple was once over $4 there at the peak. Here we are, maybe not on this chart, but I know on Binance at one point it was valued over $4. So now let's quickly go through the way that I've been counting this. So I believe that this was our one wave, 2, 3 went up to here where we went 1, 2, 3 in that third wave, most impulsive, and then just a tiny little wave here where you can see wave 1 and wave 5 are both rather small but close to equal size, and that's what you like to see in something like this. And then we retrace, and if you notice, I'll just do real quick A, B, C. If we go for a Fibonacci retracement here from swing low to swing high, you can see that we found the resistance right in the 618 to 0.65 Fibonacci zone. This is a beautiful buy zone. If the market hasn't turned around by a 618 to 0.65, this area right here would have been a great area to buy in. I wasn't quite following the XRP chart there. Although I did buy in pretty close. I was buying in, I honestly bought in here at this dip because I thought that this was going to be this last touch to the 382, but that turned out, we also had the confluence there with the hitting the 30 RSI. I thought that the market would turn around there for consensus. We had one more drop. It's okay. So this right here, very, very good buy zone. If I had seen this happening just a few days ago, well, that would have been great. But now let's draw some extensions to see where this would go. So if this is a one wave upward and it doesn't do what Icon did, where it falls short, let's take an extension from here to here, drag it down to the 0.618. We're going to ignore this drop right here. This was a single person on Bitfinex, which is the exchange that I'm looking at right now. One person on Bitfinex sold something ridiculous like $21 million worth of XRP in a market execution. So the price flash crashed and it found support. Enough buy orders were stacked right at the bottom here, but other exchanges did not experience this 5-minute flash crash. If you zoom into candles, this all fits in a 5-minute candle. So now that we have our extensions drawn, let's try to figure out where this is going. So if this is a one wave upward like we'd like it to be, and it retraced right to there, the next place most likely it would end is between the $1. It's either just over the $1 or at the 1618. Oh, let's just leave that there for now. Try to figure that out. So if it just breaks the 1-to-1 extension of that first wave, we'd be looking at about $1.14 to $1.20. That range would be a very likely spot. I would expect a retracement from there then to the 1618, which would be $1.50. If that does not happen, if we look even more bullish, well, then it might go up to there and eventually end at a $2 ripple. Again, would be absolutely fantastic. Now let's draw a couple more extensions. What would an extension of just this first little bit look like? Well, here we find a little bit less market movement. This would expect smaller gains. Let's go ahead and clear that one again. Let's see if we have completed a one wave upward. Well, I'm looking at this since we reached our bottom. Let's zoom into a 1 hour chart. So here's our bottom here. We could count this probably as a 1, 2, 3. That's a valid 1. If this is a 1, then we could also count this as a 1, a 2, and a 3 for a third down. And now we are still looking for a fifth wave upward. So let's leave that there for now. Let's take a quick extension of the first wave, as well as an extension of this second wave that we formed, since we do look to have found a bottom recently. And you can see that the second wave here shouldn't pass this next wave upward shouldn't pass the 1-to-1 extension of this middle wave. It's unlikely. However, the end target for the first wave would have been the 1618, and wrong tool. So it's quite possible that this whole area right here is going to be where this next wave ends at. I think that that's completely likely. So if this were the case, where would we retrace to off that? Probably right around here is the 0.5. So then if we were to take a Fibonacci extension and go to our theoretical high at the 1618 and our theoretical low there, you can see that a 1-to-1 extension now of that, let's start clearing some of this other crud out of the way, would put us right around here at 88 cents. The 1618 would probably be a more likely target, and that puts us again just under $1. I think that that is a decent target here for the third wave, followed by a retracement again, and then a final push up to, more likely, I'm looking at this, I think it's much more likely that we now finish just above the 1-to-1 extension, retrace down to here, and then finish this wave here at the 1618. So I would expect a XRP. I think that the next few days we're going to get a 1 wave, a 2 wave, a 3 wave, 4, probably down to, I'd imagine actually a pretty shallow 4 wave, and then a 5th wave up to there. And then where we just break the 1-to-1 extension of that earlier wave over here, we then retrace down to the tip of this wave, and then, finally make a move up to around the 1618, which would be $1.50 per ripple. Alright, last but not least, we're going to be going through Zcash, because today Zcash had this massive 36% gain in a 2-hour candle right there, so that's absolutely absurd. We are on the 1 hour chart just so that we can break this down a little bit better, because it happened so dang fast right here. So if we count our wave structure from the bottom here, this would be our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where we do retrace a little bit into the one wave, but not too much more than a wick. If we were to go on to a higher time frame, that would just be a wick. And then we get our ABC retracement from there, ABC. It's a little bit weird counting these waves downward. The ABC retracement's a little funky, but again, it doesn't really matter when you have a candle like this that confirms that the retracement is over. So then we start our middle wave, the most impulsive wave, and the way I would count this is, let's start zooming in here, because as I said, this has started happening so fast, people realized consensus was coming up after the market was crashing, and they're like, hey, we need to get on this ship. So if this is a 1 wave here, a 2, we're looking for that 3, the fourth is probably already in, and then we are looking for our fifth. And so let's break this down even a little bit further. I'm going to go down to a 30-minute chart so that we can really see what's going on here. And here I would count this as a 1, 2, maybe we get this extent. It's hard to determine whether that's actually a 1 or whether this would be considered the one wave right there. I'm gonna go with this because it is a higher point, but it doesn't really matter too much which way we count that. So if this was then the third wave, the most impulsive wave up, let's take an extension of just that wave, and you can see that this wave, this push upward from this point here, we would expect it to retrace to the 0.5 and at 34 cents, and you can see it hit that target perfectly. So finally then let's start taking some extensions of this original wave where we could do that. Well, this doesn't tell us anything really. It's too far. It was too small of a wave followed by too big of a wave. It went beyond expectations here. So where can we expect this wave to end? Well, the only extension we really can take is this wave that just happened. So if we were to go from swing high to the 50% retracement just below it where it bottomed, well, we would expect slightly less than a 1-to-1 extension, right? That would be too large. So, but we do want it to make a fifth wave where it breaks the top of this wave here. So let's zoom back out. Let's do one more extension from my chart would load here, from the bottom here to the top of this first wave, and this can give us, well, you see that the 786 extension for this wave right here, as well as the 1618, which was the original target for that first wave, line up. They have that beautiful confluency right there. You also see up here that the 1.0 and the 2.0 are close, as well as the 1618 and the 2618 up here line up perfectly. However, it's just not very likely that the fifth wave of a structure actually breaks the 1-to-1 extension of that third wave. The third wave is usually the most impulsive. It's never the smallest one up, and it's usually the largest. But the fifth wave has the potential to break it. So these are possibilities further up here, but I would expect that Zcash here finds its top right around 42 to 43 cents. So if you enjoyed the video, guys, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel, as well as leaving me a comment as telling me which coins you think Consensus is going to help out the most and where you see their prices going to. This has been Matt, Mountain Dew for breakfast, and I hope you guys have a great day.